It's time for Verbal Tap, the show that proves fighting is way easier from outside the cage, or in this case, the elevated blood sport. Matt, we had Metamoris this weekend. How are you doing, Rafa Esparza?
I'm so happy. It was a great weekend for Jiu-Jitsu.
You know, I broke out my djembe and played along with the band a little bit. I don't mind telling you that. That's right. I got a little drumming in, and I think I'm onto something called emotional drumming. We'll talk about it. Separate podcast, probably.
Kevin, I just know in my brain, considering your hair is good evidence for this, but you are that asshole in the drum circle. Are you not when you go to a concert?
Without question, I'm the asshole in the drum circle. Doesn't even have to be at a concert. It could just be like, I'll stop at churches I don't know that are like just playing bands, and I'll go.
This is so terrible.
Absolutely. It's about creating life, Raph, not just watching it pass by. Speaking of, we have on the line, we're going to be...
Terrible transition.
Yeah, I know, not at all. Terrible transition. We're going to be doing a lot of talking about Metamoris, and in true coverage form, we have an expert per match to help us lead off, and patiently waiting on the line from BJJTrainingJournal.com and BJJ Training Journal, the app that you can get on your iPhone or tablet device. Amechi, Akpom. Amechi, how are you doing today?
Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
First of all, did the voice modulator scare the shit out of everyone else too at the Metamoris introductions, or was I the only one that was afraid of them?
Are you talking about the Mr. Movie Phone? They got Mr. Movie Phone to do those. It was strange.
It was either that or you have an MC.
Oh,
that's true. Wow, they are really
rock a mat.
Did
everybody see him at some point during the show? I know I did.
Didn't have a fucking clue how to pronounce anyone's name. This one was a little frightening, though. I kind of dug it occasionally, but it was just like, and now, at 6'3", just a very authoritative.
Kevin Phillips will take the mic. Kevin Phillips is known for saying complete nonsense. Kevin Phillips will now tell you about Kit Dale versus Gary Lee Tony.
You know,
That's
it was good, but like when you're there though, is usually you can see the Bruce Buffer in the middle of the octagon saying something. Here was the voice of God, like you couldn't see where it was coming from. So like I've been looking, I'm like, where the hell is this guy? I can whip my head around.
We'll have to get Eric Medina on the case, which is a nice teaser for when we chat with him later. So hold on, he wasn't like sitting in a control room, because I kind of assumed he was near the mat, that I just had chalked it up to bad camera work that we didn't see him, but that's good to know.
Yeah, maybe it was just my angle, but yeah, I didn't see him.
I was located in a car in the Peterson Automotive Museum, just phoning it in.
Live from the Batcave.
I was so impressed that the voice of God was starting us with it. But for you, Amechi, tell us about the spectacle of it. How did it feel being back at Metamoris? How did it feel to be part of that Coachella tent that they have there at the Peterson Museum?
Well, it was actually really cool. I stopped going to events a while ago just because they're so long. They weren't always well organized. I mean, it was great, when you see Galval running around as a brown belt and all these big names, you just walk up to them. But, I just recently started going back to the events, and they just come so far. And this really was put together really nicely. And Scotty Nelson from On the Mat and I rolled up in there. And since Scotty knows the world, I essentially had free run of the place. I'm like back inside the warm-up rooms with the entire group of competitors, just warming up and reading books and stretching out. And so it was just cool to get that full experience as well. But it's just, the lighting is great. They have this hallway with all this decoration with Metamoris. They have a bar and food stands and a DJ outside playing. I mean, they really did put it together well. I wasn't at any of the previous Metamoris events, but it seemed like they've really dialed in the experience.
Now, I wasn't there this year, but how many acai tents did they have this time?
There was a string of tables and tents out back there. I didn't eat anything, so I don't know, but there was acai running aplenty.
And this is for my own edification. when they had the seats out there, were they elevated this time? Because I could see it looked a little different in how they put it together this year. It looked like, because last year I was in the back of the tent and I couldn't see anything, and everybody just ended up standing for Hoyler and Eddie anyway. But did they kind of at least make it a little more inclined for the general admission seats? Because the rises that they had for those people were amazing.
Absolutely right. They did address it, and that's one of the first things I heard people saying when they walked in. They're like, "Oh, good elevation." And you heard complaints about last time, so at least they're listening. Oh, before I forget to mention, Dudikoff from American Ninja, he was in the house.
No way,
dude. He is a long-time jiu-jitsu practitioner. Like, I remember seeing him in videos from Dengue Fever like a long time ago, before like over 10 years ago. So he was there and he was awesome. So he's with a buddy of mine, Eric Meyer. So yeah, I tell you, there were stars there, brother.
Well, okay.
You know?
I'll take your word and not the word of the technical director who showed Anderson Silva as the only star there continuously, but sure. So talk to us about the match. We have you covering Gary versus Kit. If you were privy to backstage rituals, were there any backstage rituals that you'd like to talk about?
Backstage, I did my best not to bug the dudes. I know pre-competition, when I've competed in things in the past, and other folks have, everyone has their own thing. But they seemed pretty chill when I saw them by observation. They're pretty friendly, talking to people, smiling. They're just acting completely what you'd think of normal. But this of the matches to go over, this obviously was a pretty short one. But when they get out there, it's funny. You know the reputations of the guys, and Gary really lived up to it. Some people pull guard. He did a ninja roll while attacking to a knee bar. Like, that's the very first thing that he does. That's a good example of why these guys are so good. They weren't distracted by the drumming, by the giant drums with the people with flak jackets on. It was
they were able to tune it out just like a real professional. Yeah, very zen.
It was good.
That's
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, the contrast was Kit started slow, and I talked to him afterwards, and I think that was part of the goal. Was like, that's 20 minutes is a long time, and he wants to be able to put on a good show, and part of that was a strategy of starting slow. So, as you saw, Gary was attacking, and I think from half guard, I think that's where it was. Gary scooped up the leg and went for that heel hook, and from where I was sitting, it looked pretty gnarly. But then when I watched it on this morning on the video, I mean, Kit just looked really calm. I can't tell how tight it was, whether there's a poker face or not, but he transitioned out. It was like 30 seconds in, but then they scrambled to their feet, and there was the collar tie. Collar tie, snap down, guillotine, and that's one of Gary's bread and butter moves. And
yeah, that was beautiful.
Man, so tight. And Kit's a beast. He transitioned. He rolled on his shoulder, tried to get out. He was almost out one time. But man, once he had that secured and trapped both of Kit's arms with his legs, I mean, he could hardly tap. I memean, that's what happens when you make a mistake for a second against a guy that damn good. And honestly,
no shit.
I feel kind of split about it. On one hand, it's like, Gary's that good. That's why that happens. On the other hand, I want Kit to come back, because I don't think that's, you know what I mean? Kit didn't get to show how tough he is, what a good, entertaining competitor he is. So I'm on the campaign to get both of these guys, back in Metamoris 5. Absolutely.
You're on that campaign. You're chairman. Yeah. Amechi Akpom is
fan club.
Chairman.
And a sticker.
First of all, Gary Tonins, and I'm glad we get to talk about this. Fun match, high octane, kind of exactly what we expected. I don't think we would have been nearly as surprised also if Kit Dale had done something crazy in the first 5 minutes to get Gary. So it kind of made perfect sense that that's how the match ended. When he calls out Kron, are we essentially saying like that's kind of the modern equivalent to a Gracie challenge?
You know what? I think maybe, and I think that the crowd was like, oh, like, how dare you almost. And I'm like, hell yeah. Like, you kidding me? I think that's a smart thing. I mean, he wasn't disrespectful about it. He's won a match. He was on the platform, and he talked about who he wanted to compete against next, who he almost beat before in ADCC. He lost.
He didn't scream expletives at him. He wasn't like, your system sucks. Europe,
Yeah, I loved it, and I think it was a good thing. I'm not confident that we'll see it happen, but I liked it. I'm all about it.
You're not holding out for hope in 5 years to see it in MMA?
I mean, yeah, maybe that if they keep in the same weight class, who knows? Maybe that'll happen. You know what? Gary's an intense dude, so I can see him really bird dogging this, and when they're both at MMA, like his first match, asking for Crone, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, that's true. I guess I don't want to ruin the motive that it might get done in 4 years in Japan. That's worth the wait. I mean, I'm not saying that, obviously. I liked the call out. I also liked the rash guards and some of the clothing choices in this first match.
The Sharknado rash guard. How good was that?
Yeah.
It was pretty good.
Shark.
So good.
I like the all red. He went matching. Kid had some different color variations. Just, all around. Really well fashioned first match is all I'm saying.
It was very, very fashionable. Excellent. And one question that some people were asking is whether or not the beard made a difference with escaping the guillotine.
Uh-oh.
And people were coming up to Kid actually asking him, yeah, man, you think the beard messed up the guillotine? And he made no excuses. All he would say was like, yeah, I was my strategy was to take it easy, and I just got caught, and he was really frustrated that it didn't bother him that he necessarily lost. He always wants to win, he said, but he said he didn't get to put on a show. He didn't get to battle. He didn't get to test himself. He didn't get to show everyone. And yeah, while he was super cool with everyone coming up to him, like, yeah, he was frustrated about not being able to perform. But, he's still a crazy fan club with folks lining up to take pictures with him. So I'm hoping they'll have back.
And I
saw you two take a picture, yourself included. That was a nice little...
Yeah, my man pointed at I was wearing a BJJ Training Channel t-shirt with shameless promotion. And, he took the picture, was pointing at the logo. That was pretty awesome, very supportive dude.
Yeah.
And actually, Gary did the same thing. We got afterwards, we were all hanging out, and we were trying to get – let me just speak on this.
Hold on. Wait. Now, I have to interrupt you before you interrupt yourself.
Okay.
I know a lot of people went to Metamoris. I'm pretty sure the whole crew of people at Metamoris didn't just go, Gary, where are we going for dinner?
Yeah, it's friend of a friend, and now he's a friend. He's a good dude. He's going to be out here for the week in California, so hopefully we're going to be able to train a little bit. But yeah, like I've heard talk about his his diet, right? His nutrition. People are like, dude, he's bacon burgers, he's crap. And I will say that we did pass over McDonald's to have gourmet tacos. So
it's not everybody.
It's not as bad.
The fuck
as
does that
thing,
mean?
okay?
What do you mean? What kind of gourmet taco did he have?
Okay, now it was. Let me see what it was. It was
insider information here.
Yes, it was like
this
shredded
is why you tune into
chicken,
the podcast, folks.
bacon, avocado, cheese, and jalapeno. Not expected jalapeno. Quite a kick there.
Okay. And first of all, I'm not sure that sounds better. So the point you were making is
I've got to lay into Amechi. Do me a favor, Amechi. Tell me what you thought about his taco choices. Did you feel that they were up to snuff for somebody competing at the Metamoris level?
I think it was a rather conservative choice. He only went with one. He did get the nachos, chips with salsa.
Was that a surprising move?
I was surprised. I figured that after competing, he'd want to go ahead and eat quite a bit. He did not. He was conservative. So he's aggressive in his attack, conservative in his meal choices.
Interesting.
Yes.
Takeaways.
Yeah. Well, these are the questions that, not everyone asks. And it's hard to tell if it's because they don't care or they don't think of it, but definitely one of them is the case.
Yeah.
Final impressions, Amechi. You were there, you were on site, you got to see the tap, you got to feel the buzz of the crowd, especially after the call out. Any final magic moments?
I think that everyone was just eager to see what was going to happen at this event. Everyone was all pumped up, and I think it's really huge that we were able to start with a submission, so we could ride the high. If it would have been some long, boring, drawn-out, no-action fight, then I think people would have been pissed. But I think this just maintained everyone else's energy, so it was good. I really enjoyed it, and maybe I'll head back to it.
Hey, Maybe. And, we've been talking to a little bit of everybody about it, but since you were there, Josh Barnett's thighs, as good in person as they were on the pay-per-view?
Amazing. Let's just say the entire place was amazed at those thighs. When he came out in that robe, like it was. Because here's the thing about it: at the event, everything's real quiet, right? Everything's silent. At a UFC event, everyone's screaming and cheering, "Kill him! Rip his head out! Beat his ass!" But at this event, everyone's real quiet and respectful, and every once in a while you say, "Go Salo, yeah," because you're on his team. But here, when he came out of that robe and had on the wrestling tights, that set up the crowd. It's pretty funny.
That's what I like to hear.
Maybe you and I have different viewing experiences, but when Chael Sonnen was going for that rear naked choke, I happened to be at a party where Joey Diaz yells out the following, and I quote, "Bust his fucking voice box, you motherfucker." And
I love that guy.
I about died. Of course, everybody loves Joey Diaz. But when you're talking about people being super respectful and nice and lovable, when Joey's yelling that out, the whole place is dying of laughter. And I said, man, if he had yelled that out in that pin drop silence of a Metamoris crowd, could you imagine the place just losing it?
Oh, that'd been awesome. Like, I guess the most aggressively cheering person was a guy in my row who kept on yelling, "War Master! War Master!" Like, I don't know if you could hear it on the show. I mean, on the broadcast, but that's probably the biggest cheering I heard because, it's clearly from his squad and he had his team.
War Master.
It was so good.
That's good.
It was so good. It was probably 3-4 guys down from me.
Ladies and gentlemen from BJJTrainingJournal.com here to help us run down this first fantastic match. Amechi, you were a great leadoff guest. Much like the main event, you were very quick, you were very sharp. Wasn't like the funnest thing to watch, but it had its moments. No, I'm obviously joking. Amechi, thank you again for swinging by and talking to Metamoris.
Thank you very much. And I have to tell you one thing, though, that I think you've been waiting on for a while. The Android version of the app will be live within the next 3 days.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Hey!
Thank God.
He's obviously talking to Raph because I have an iPhone like a normal person does. But yeah.
Fuck up. There are statistics that prove I am not alone. Amechi, thank you.
Right on, brother.
I will let you know this right now. I am ready. I'm stoked. There's a little thing on your page that's just been teasing me, and it's like coming soon for Droid, and I'm like, ooh. So I'm ready for it. It's gonna happen.
Excited about it as well.
I will be updating furiously.
Well, thank you guys for the support. I always appreciate it, and I look forward to actually tuning in and hearing everyone else's perspectives on the rest of this episode. Because it was a fun event.
I love it.
Later, players.
Akpom.
Kev, as we continue reviewing what happened at Metamoris, I just got to stop by asking you a question. Have you ever been called out by a black belt?
No, I haven't. Thank God. Not ready for that.
Well, I can let you know I have. And
good.
No, not
That's
good.
fantastic.
I thought you.
No, I applaud it. You probably deserve it. First of all, I'm sure you deserve it.
I don't deserve it. Well, maybe I do deserve it. But the most recent, I guess, of which comes from our good friend Mr. Jim Lawson of the Warriors Club podcast, who recently said the following: "Hey, Raph, I see you training with these other gyms. How come you haven't stopped by at my gym?" And I didn't have anything for him. So that's terrifying.
Yeah.
But you know what I do when I get too terrified? I bring that person on the podcast. Joining us today to review another match from Metamoris, we have Mr. Jim Lawson. How are you doing today, man?
Hey, what's going on, guys? What's up, Kevin?
Jim,
Raph, I do have issues with you, man. I carry that, I harbor that deep-seated emotion of you not frequenting the Warriors Club.
This is terrifying.
And Kev, let me tell you something. This guy works right around the corner from where the academy is. 60
So
yards.
it's convenient. It's really convenient.
totally convenient. The guy's ducking me. He's ducking me like Vinny Magalhaes ducks Renato Laras.
Well, I think thank you for putting it in terms our audience can understand. But number two,
Yeah, that was a great metaphor. That was really helpful.
He's putting it in a way where I don't know, like, so do you run down other lower belts? Is this like something you do in your pastime, Jim?
Yeah, every now and then, yeah, the bully gene runs deep within me, and then, yeah. I mean, I see you training with those higher ground knuckleheads over out in Hacienda. We have Sean and Julio running that circus over there, and yeah, they're good enough for you. But old Jimbo Nice from the Warriors Club.
Enough. You know, here's the dumb part. You know that specific spot right there. I grew up in Hacienda Heights. So the fact that place now exists and it hadn't existed before infuriates me, because that's just years of jiu-jitsu I didn't have right then and there. And I was looking at the time, don't get me wrong. But yeah, you're close to me. But, things come up sometimes, man.
Yeah, like I guess going to visit mom and dad 40 miles away over in Hacienda. But in all seriousness, man, those guys are brothers, and I know that term gets thrown around very loosely in our community. But Sean Fernandez and Julio Lang of Higher Ground out there, those are some good guys, and those are definitely my jiu-jitsu brothers. Even though they dug me too, so I give them the same speech I just gave you. They dug me.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to get them in a soccer match. Julio, he's like from Brazil, and he digs soccer, and I'm calling him out straight up. Higher Ground guys versus the Warrior Club guys, straight up.
Oh. Do you need
I love
commentary, like play-by-play?
Jim's,
I would be happy.
Jim's my favorite guest, just by a factor of 10 so far.
Yeah, let's do it. We'll market it pay-per-view. Charge $1, and then 3 people may three friends may purchase.
$3 that we can split between all the clubs.
Yeah.
I'll pay 5.
So, Jim, you went to Metamoris yesterday. First of all, jealous. Second of all, how was that experience? How was it live?
Man, the live experience was great. And let me tell you, I've been very fortunate to witness these in person, live at each event. I'm watching this grow right in front of our very eyes. And, I don't necessarily know how it translates online, but I see the changes that they're making from, going from an arena, so to speak, into these small, intimate venues, I think is really cool. I think, the fact that they have the courage to try these things, because everyone, us as human beings, we're creatures of habit. We get into our set little ways, and there's always going to be haters and a lot of criticism on any kind of change. But, this Metamoris organization, love them or hate them, they're pushing the envelope, and they're tinkering with some things, and some of them work, some of them don't. There's still a long way to go, but, they're the spearhead of this movement, and the live experience, it translates to me personally. I like the changes. I liked the big thing was the music. How'd you guys like the music, during the matches?
Well,
very thunderous.
What's that?
Thunderous is how I would describe them. Like, sometimes we could hear it maybe a little better than other times. The sound wasn't always. We had commentary pretty loud.
Right.
So
okay.
You would only occasionally get the real like.
Jim, have you been to a previous Metamoris?
Yes, sir. Been to all of them.
You've been to all of them. You've been to all of them live?
I'm a groupie. All of them live.
Oh man. Well, first of all, again, jealous. I've been to 2 of the Metamorises live, and this was the first time I saw them using the drumming during the actual matches.
Yes. That was the part. That was the part I was very curious to hear what the online community, the people who watched online, because see, from my perspective, live, we can't hear that commentary. You have Ken Flo and Glover, commentating. So the online experience is very different, and it's cool because you have these top level guys commentating on what's going on, the action. But being there live, that's one of the things we lose out on. We don't necessarily have someone explaining everything
right.
For the casual viewer. And so insert that music that they were playing during the matches. For the live audience, I thought it was awesome. It so much reminded me of the old school kung fu theater. You hear the wood chopping, during as they zoom into the eye-to-eye contact. Man, live music, you feel the percussions, and I mean, come on, they've been doing percussion music for battling and war since the dawn of time. And now, I think it was really cool.
Absolutely.
You're bringing up something that's really cool, although I will say from the home version, and maybe Kevin can speak on this too, it looked like you got a shot of the person in the background who was drumming, and they were just kind of waiting for their cue. Like they're watching the match like, okay, now it feels like soft drum time. Yes. Yes. Build drum. And it just got so weird to watch them watch the match at times during the broadcast. Kev, did you feel that way at all?
Well, there were a few times they made me jump for no damn reason. Like they thought someone was setting up an armbar and they'd like cuckoo and they'd crank it and nothing happened, so it would just scare the piss out of me because we couldn't hear the soft drumming. So all of a sudden we would just like get a pounding and it was like, holy fuck, wait, no, hold on, nothing happened. There's still, so there was a few, I would love a Q&A with the leader of the tempo. That would have been awesome for afterwards. It's like,
yeah, but you know
how
what?
Did you decide?
That's great because, okay, listen to what you just said. Okay, so they start playing this music once they thought something was happening. So in essence, they're kind of coloring some dead air, if you will, or some dead space. So you think something's about to happen. What's happening? Oh, nothing happened. Okay, so let's continue on this journey. And it adds a little excitement instead of, you guys have been to, the other Metamorises, and once the match starts, Jiu-Jitsu is this weird community. It's like we're the only sport, maybe outside of golf, where once the action starts, everyone's quiet.
Pin drop.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that way. So, but my big thought on the online community is with that commentary, was it frustrating for people watching online to hear the commentary while they're kind of competing with the percussions?
I think part of it was watching the girl or the drummers, but I focused in on one of the drummers most of the time. And I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but it almost felt like an inverse relationship to the less that was going on, the more drumming that was happening. Which I think segues us nicely to the match we're having you talk about today, which is Salo versus Rodrigo. So I respect both of these people a lot. However, I will say, since we've put this out there was a bit of drumming that happened there. So, having said all of that, what was your interpretation of the match?
You broke up a little bit. I can't hear you on that one.
Kev, you want to take that then?
Oh, yeah, it's no problem. So you saw Salo versus Comprido live, where there was a good amount of drumming. What was your perception of the match?
You know what? It's kind of I actually enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. There was it may not have translated well online, but man, to see those guys live and up close, they were working their ass off. I mean, there was a lot of grip fighting. And
absolutely,
there was a lot of jockeying for position, and then what we did get to see on both sides is some successful judo. I mean, you got to see a couple pretty sweet ass takedowns. You got to see a takedown with I believe a takedown with a sweep that happened as well. And to see it, these guys, relatively speaking, they're the old guys. They're the old men of the game who have come out of this, I don't know, this ambiguous retirement, or I don't know if they've ever officially been retired or what. But some guys that we haven't seen in a while, and then they're going at it, and the intangible of seeing it live and hearing them, breathing heavy, working for this position. So it kind of live, it translated well. Online, who knows? I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, first of all, they were super clear about the match that they were going to fight, and that's the match they fought. It was going to be more of a traditional grip fighting style where you don't pull guard because you don't want to be on your back. You want to be imposing your top game. So I loved it. I'm going to make one observation because it was slow. It was just a slower fight. Do you think it might have gotten, and people were obviously a little bit more hostile online because people are always more hostile online.
Correct.
That's just the veil of Twitter, and they don't have to look Salo in the eyes where you can grab them and choke them really quickly.
Right.
I just feel like maybe they should have started with that match because after you saw how quick and strong and agile Gary Tonin versus Kit Dale are, they just looked like not only were they moving at a slower pace, they looked like almost a double time slower pace because of how fast paced the first match has been. So that would be my only real criticism because it was a slower grip fight battle.
That's a fair criticism. However, I think there's something that those two with Rodrigo and Salo, they're legends in our community. These guys have succeeded at the highest level, and you kind of want to. I would think that you kind of want to offer them a level of respect, I guess, by not making them the opening act, so to speak.
Correct. Yep.
And then and I think
that makes sense.
I see what you're saying, and it's a very fair point because man, coming out the gate, you have Kit and Gary just. Getting at it, and then it goes to the bigger guy. Not only are they bigger guys, but then they're older guys. So you got two doses of slow going.
Also, a fair point. Yes,
compared to what you just watched. But I think it's a fair argument on an entertainment end that it kind of highlights some of the difficulties of making jiu-jitsu more of a mainstream sport. I think people that are really involved in jiu-jitsu, people that are truly put in the time and effort, I think they could appreciate whether it was live or online. I think they could truly appreciate what they were watching in that match. Me personally, I appreciated the hell out of it. I thought, that 20 minutes, I couldn't believe it was already 20 minutes and it was over because I was in it. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that felt that way. But that being said, I'm sitting next to folks that are just kind of casual viewers, and they're like, they could have done without it. They're like, oh, all right, well, damn, that sucked. And then you have to go to the bigger question of, okay, what is the purpose of Metamoris? Are they marketing to get the mainstream fan involved into our art? Or are they marketing to, this is for people who do jiu-jitsu by people who do jiu-jitsu? It's like, who are they trying to cater this to? So, again, that's this part of the growing. And I don't think anyone's really struck gold on that. I mean, I think there's a lot of organizations out. They have great ideas and great things to do, but no one's really been the be-all, catch-all, so to speak.
Well, since there seems to be kind of a mixed message in terms of what they're going for here, I think that there is a place for our legends to be a part of it. I think it's a great learning experience because it encourages people to go watch their other matches and learn a lot more about the history of the sport. And we're hearing rumblings for the next Metamoris that there may be another kind of a series of legends who would be involved with it. What do you think is the learning experience from billing this for the next one going forward, if they want to keep including that legend kind of aspect to it as well?
That's a very good question. I mean, with golf, you have the Masters and, the seniors and the Masters of the PGA, and it seems to do pretty well. They've done it for so long. Excuse me. That's I mean, a legend series, but then I could just see how some of these legends do against the younger guys of today. I don't know. I think the better question is, okay, legend or not a legend, old or young, how do they just match up with the talent, whether the talent's young or old? I mean, if you look into mixed martial arts, look at Randy Couture. He's the exception, but this guy, he's older than Salo when he was the heavyweight champion of the
Correct.
UFC. And it's like,
the hard part for me, and I don't mean to interrupt you, is I think part of it is how they bill it. I think that's a real big thing, and I think that's when that educational aspect of those promo videos become the best tool for helping the audience shape them know what kind of match we're going for. Because I think that was the missed opportunity here, was to really define what kind of games these guys were going to play. Now, yes, were they pushing forward? Yes, they were both trying to make that happen. But the weird part about it is, to the uneducated, if they are kind of doing what is looking like standing still and pushing their heads together, when you see those exciting moments, like when you saw that mount from Salo and you saw that he was setting up for that cross collar, I know I jumped up because I thought that was exciting, and that's what that was building to.
Yeah, I you know what? I felt the exact same way. I mean, the only reason why I didn't jump up is, the people have been a real ass to the people behind me. And
I was just
I gave the old
a polite
touchdown.
human being. No big deal.
Right. But I gave the old touchdown thing, just two hands in the air. I was like, yeah, just going crazy. It was so cool. But, it's, I think you make some very good points and very valid arguments. And I think for jiu-jitsu to grow as a spectator sport, I mean, and maybe even an Olympic sport, jiu-jitsu has to prove itself as something that people outside of our community can rally behind. And it's such an interesting discussion because, the art of jiu-jitsu has been around for ages. I mean, maybe not in a sporting form, but what has been around since, again, the dawn of man is wrestling, grappling. Since the ancient times, the first Olympiad had wrestling in it. Now, that being said, wrestling is not a marquee sport in our culture as the NFL is, as Major League Baseball. And they've been unable to really market something like wrestling. I mean, even boxing as we know it has not been around as long as wrestling. But look at boxing. I mean, its heydays in the 60s and 70s and even 80s. And even with Mike Tyson in the 90s. It's like it's been able to market itself. And I think what it is there are so many nuances in jiu-jitsu. And let's take the Salo and Rodrigo match as a prime example. It's like the devil is in the details of our sport, of our culture, I should say, whether it's sport or self-defense, which is a whole other argument. The devil's in the details. And if you're not immersed in it, you're not going to be able to appreciate these details. And that goes for judo, that goes for wrestling, which is why until they made wrestling theater, like the WWF, not saying it's fake, but, for as long as wrestling has been around, it was never mainstream until the theatrics became involved. Then it's about the theatrics and not even about the art of wrestling. And judo, same thing. It's an Olympic sport, but come on, who's flocking? How many sold out judo events, are happening here or even in the motherland of Japan? So they have to. I don't know. That's a. I'm going on a rant here, but that's the question. How do we highlight these details and how do we make it exciting for the mainstream?
And we're absolutely getting there. And I do think, despite a few personal disagreements with some of the choices they made, Metamoris 4 had some really good buzz culture about it. Did you feel like the live show, lived up to almost like a jiu-jitsu's indie rock version of a grappling tournament? How did you feel as you were watching the end of these two legends fight and the place is sort of exploding with excitement? Talk to us about just what it was like being in there.
Yeah, the energy is there, and I think one of the smart moves, one of the better moves of the Metamoris organization is taking it out of the arena for now, for the time being. I mean, we'll shelf that idea of these big arenas and let's make it more intimate. And I think that was such a key because it translates into so many more. I mean, it just translates for the better, I think, Because now when people are watching online, you guys are looking at a packed house that is loud and rowdy, as opposed to this huge arena that is empty and you hear sparse, sounds from, people in the crowd. So when it's contained in such a small area, and the ticket prices, for better or for worse, they're a lot higher than ever before because it's a premium. There's only, I think it only seats around 300 for audience attendance or something like that, whatever. But they're sold out, and only people that are very interested, the crowd you're going to attract are the people that are willing to pay $200 a ticket or $100 a ticket. I mean, those people are, you damn well right. They're going to be in. They're going to be into the sport, and they're going to react to those details. And that's going to help translate online. When you guys are watching it, oh, my God, the crowd's going crazy. That's good.
Yeah. And you get names like Chael Sonnen on the card, you get new and fresh talent, and then you get people like Salo and Comprido to come out and show us almost, some of those historical rematches that are really interesting extended version. 20-minute submission only. Did you feel like, and this is a question I have to ask the people, did you feel like the breaks in between were a good amount of time, a little long, a little short? What's your feedback on the breaks between matches?
You know what? I think they were good. I don't. They're flirting with it, that's for sure. I mean, I think it was roughly 10 minutes in between matches, which is good because after the one match, you have a chance to go grab a bite, you have a chance to go to the restroom. So, my opinion, and it's a very humble opinion, I think it was good. And I don't know if they were showing online, but they were showing the trailers of who you're about to see, and I think, I personally, I liked it. And speaking of
long
Chael,
online. Little long.
What's that?
Little long to watch online. A lot of breaks.
Here's a note that I had is, do you think they could cut down a smaller version of the 12-minute videos that they do? Maybe like a 6-minute version, maybe a remix, like a 7-minute version? Because the full 10-minute version, especially as you're rewatching it, you're like, well, I've already seen this. And maybe if you've ordered the pay-per-view, you haven't seen it. But I mean, I'm just saying maybe that's what's causing people like Chael Sonnen and Dean Lister and Josh Barnett to take such heavy naps before their matches. Because it looked like they had to wake them up out of hibernation to go do their matches at certain points.
Yeah, I guess to use the term of Keenan Cornelius, so you guys are asking for a redux and the in-between videos. It's a fair argument. I mean, hey, if they had a quicker pace, that'd be cool too. Because me personally, in between every fight, I wasn't necessarily going to the bathroom after every match and grabbing a drink or grabbing a bite. So, but if someone says, okay, now the intermissions are going to be half of what they were. Metamoris 5 intermissions are going to be half of what. I think it's a value for sure. I think it's a value.
I like it.
And they could shorten it up, sure. Why not?
That's what I'm at. They were just a little long on the online. Any final thoughts? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, hey, speaking of Chael Sonnen, I don't know if you guys are going to talk about it later with different guests. How about his speech at the end? That got the crowd going.
Do you remember any part of it?
Yeah, talking about how he was walking the walk and he came, he saw, he's a man of his word. He says he's going to fight, he's going to come to fight, and that's what it is. And I think
I agree. I loved it.
Oh man, crowd was going crazy. I'm like, what just happened? And he actually kind of, I don't know. He what's the word I'm looking for? But anyways, he like made it seem like him and Anderson Silva are one and the same kind of thing. We're fighters, blah blah blah. And he kind of rooted on Anderson in his comeback. He doesn't need that other leg. Last I heard, spiders have 8 legs, and it was pretty cool, man. That guy's brilliant.
I mean, I love it, and believe me,
he's fired up.
I love me some great promos, but I also was the person at home who was trying to chart and use a outline of what his main points were.
Mm-hmm.
And I give him the credit of, yeah, you just fought, so maybe your brain's a little jumbled, but I'm pretty sure this is how it sounded like. Well, bad guys always exist, and spiders have 8 legs, but when you break one, there's plenty of others, and I'm a bad guy, and you walk the walk. And I go, what the shit?
He was making a generalization that, that Spider will be back. I thought it was like a nice acquiesce of, hey, I'm on your turf.
Yeah, I know. What I would suggest for him, Kevin, and you should know this too, as a former speech competitor, they're called transitions. Sometimes they're very beneficial.
And sometimes they're pointless. He nailed it. I vote, Jim and I are on the same page here. I thought it was a great
I think
speech.
it's
Fired
kind
me
of
up.
you to put Jim in the same category as you. I think Jim makes it a different point.
I'm
He's
just
saying he
hopping
was
on
excited
his
by it, but I don't think Jim made the argument. Oh, that
potential.
was the most articulate thing I've ever heard.
That's what I heard.
No, actually, I was like, what the hell did he just say? I don't know, but it was exciting as all hell, and I'm happy to be here.
Exactly. And like I said, there's a point and a place for that, but I just love the fact that after what he said at my viewing party, I just go, America! And a huge response. And that's exactly what he said. Is that so many words? Was just literally just America. And people go, yeah, I don't know what he meant, but yeah, America.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
We really appreciate you swinging by to give us a little perspective. This actually turned into some really good strategy about jiu-jitsu format, too.
Yeah, did you use air quotes on me when you just said perspective?
I did. Well, maybe wait, you can't
Little one?
see me right now, right?
No. But I know little weasels like you.
Yes,
I know little weasels like you. You did. I
I was
know
doing
it.
it.
Or maybe it's my low self-esteem. I don't know.
I don't know. Here's the weird part. You can accuse Kevin of being many things, but he is way too transparent to be a weasel.
Thanks, Rob.
The best part about this is, Jim, we loved having you on, and I make this vow to you. Within the next month, I will be at your gym, and you will have your opportunity to beat the crap out of me. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, okay, sounds good. Now I got to go work out or something. Now the pressure's on me. The ball's in my court now.
Yeah, that's right. I get bullies. I bring them on my podcast, and I'm like, "Yeah, what, son? Yeah, I'm pretending because once I get over there, you're just gonna destroy me. But that's okay.
Yeah, in total
Jim,
bully fashion now. I'm kind of shrinking back into my rock now. Someone just called my bluff. God damn it.
But you know what, Jim? I know you're not a bully. I know you're a great guy. You're nothing but support for us, and we want to send out love you can catch your podcast warriorsclub.com. Is that correct?
The Warriors Club. TheWarriorsClub.com.
TheWarriorsClub.com. And if you guys are in the Burbank surrounding area, come take one of his classes. I've heard they're great. I'll let you know in a few weeks how great they are.
Going down, clown. Going down.
No. Jim, thank you so much for taking time, especially while you're out vacationing. We look forward to having you back on at some point, my friend.
Thanks, Jim.
Oh, man, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks, you guys. Keep up the good work. And, man, let's do this again soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Lawson. As we steamroll the verbal tap Metamoris train, not all of the guests can be winners. Occasionally we're going to take a step back, and for the Keenan versus Vinny match, we've done just that. We've brought in, from Decatur, Alabama, 10th Planet, Brandon McCaghren. Brandon, how are you doing this evening?
I'm fantastic, and how are you doing?
Wow,
not too bad.
100% too polite for whatever shitty variation of an intro Kevin gave you.
I owe Brandon a little song after he beat me violently at a game of Over Under Kevin in the UFC in a previous podcast, so I have some spite, admittedly. I'm putting that out.
Yeah. It's okay. I feel your anger, and I just want to give back positivity in return. I don't want to be dragged down that dark Kevin Phillips spiral.
See, here's the thing, though, Brandon. I was on your side until you said that, and now it's just a challenge to make you come down to our level. And I feel I can win that battle. I feel I can bring you to the dark side way easier than you can try and spout your hippie nonsense. See, there we go. I think that's already a win.
Oh, that was easy.
Yep. Still got it, everybody. But all right, so you go, Kev.
Talk to us about Keenan versus Vinny. What did you see? And I'm going to ask right off the bat, how close do you think Keenan was to tapping on that heel hook?
I think he was probably pretty close. I didn't think he was that close until he said he was pretty close at the end. You know, he said that he thought that was the deepest heel hook he had ever been in the post-fight interview there on stage. And so, you know, I mean, clearly, like when he was rolling, you could see like the pauses and the jerks and the roll as he was trying to get out of it. Yeah. So, I mean, it was clearly really tight, but I didn't know how close he might have been to tapping. But
I even thought I had seen a tap just for a brief. And Raph was saying this happened at his watch party too, or his tribal viewing, as they use the Metamoris terminology. I honestly, for a second, thought he had tapped. So
I thought Vinny tapped.
When did you
I thought Vinny tapped at the end? At the end, like I didn't. Going back and watching, I can see he didn't. But as he was pulling out, like we were watching it live, while he was pulling out of the armbar triangle attempt at the end, I thought he tapped right there. But you know, he was just flailing about and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, I think this match had such high expectations for it being high impact and whatever, and being crazy good, that everybody who I was watching with, who weren't like noobs to jiu-jitsu, we were with some pretty advanced belts here, and everybody had invented seeing Keenan tap. And it was really weird when I paused everybody and I looked at her, I was like, no, he didn't tap. I go, he's clearly not comfortable in this position. But it was a weird sleight of eye thing where everybody just invented that they thought they saw him tap. But I don't know. It was strange. It looked terrible to be in. Brandon, I want to ask you this.
Vicariously. Like,
I think that's what it was. That's, you know what? That's exactly what I said at the party. I go, I think you guys tapped for him, which is kind of
like, think about what a horrible position that is. And if you've been in a spot like that, you know, you just start screaming like tap, 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 tap in the gym.
Yeah.
You don't want to get your foot turned that way ever.
Yeah. Now, what was your expectation going into the match, dude?
I kind of expected. I thought that Keenan might dominate him, not dominate, but like win the positional battle and win the exchanges. But Vinny is just almost impossible to tap, man. Like Dean Lister had him in a fully locked in heel hook once in Abu Dhabi. I think it was the first round of the Absolute in Abu Dhabi several years back. And Vinny didn't even come close to tapping. And then, you know, what Verdum had him in that completely like Misha-tated armbar at the end of their match in Abu Dhabi, and he didn't tap. So, I mean, to tap him is gonna be almost impossible. You'd have to choke him to sleep, I think. But I did kind of expect him to. Yeah, well, to his credit. I thought that Keenan might dominate the positions and the exchanges, but I didn't really expect him to get the tap. But Vinny, I mean, it was back and forth, I thought.
This, to me, was easily the most entertaining match of the evening, because it also looked like both guys were taking it very seriously from start to finish. Were you at all... Were there any positions you thought they'd hit that they didn't? Because it seemed like they spent a lot of time attacking each other in 50-50, and then Keenan just kind of kept really doing a great job of moving him off almost in a Berimbolo type sweep, but then Vinny just countered. Were you expecting to see a little bit more high pressure on the top game from Vinny?
No, you can't put pressure on Keenan. Like that's what his guard is. It's there completely to keep the pressure off. So he plays like a little man's guard, even though he's, you know, kind of a bigger guy now. So yeah, there's no way you're going to put pressure down on Keenan. I mean, when was the last time you saw him in real trouble? You know, yeah, I mean, wow. He might get his guard passed every now and then, but for the most part, man, his guard is not passable, and it's getting less passable.
Damn. I also didn't realize Vinny, they had him weighing 230.
Yeah, he's a lot bigger.
I did not realize he was, 35 pounds plus on Keenan. Even especially after all the stuff they cut away with the staff, you'd think 230 seems a little heavy to me.
He lost 36 pounds of flesh in a staph infection 6 weeks ago.
It's not a usually do.
Despite his large frame, he looks fantastic in tights. Can we both agree on that?
Oh, without question. I thought I was awarding jiu-jitsu style match points.
Is this when we reveal that off air, Kevin was like, this is 100% truth, telling me in confidence, ooh, Raph, I totally think that Keenan and Vinny won style of the match of the evening at Metamoris.
Well,
it was close.
He texted me, and this is verbatim, I'd do him.
I do him is really funny. Because you know what the stupid part is? Kevin would totally text that.
I know he would.
I can already see a meme coming very soon. Brandon, I need to start actually texting you during these fights. That way we can review these later. I also tend to drink.
And he's like, I think that's Beyonce fighting Keenan. Why is Beyonce fighting Keenan? Them thighs, though.
Them thighs, though, is accurate. I was a little weirded out by this because, Keenan was doing a great job playing from bottom, and then it looked like at about minute 15, he just decided, I'm going to remind everybody I'm Keaton Cornelius. And the relative ease in which it looked like he was passing on Vinny at that 15-minute mark, do you think that was fatigue or just Keenan being like, I'm pretty good at this?
Yeah, I think Keenan just decided he was going to put the pace to him, and he just kept coming forward. So it wasn't, it was technical movements, but it was more the pace that passed the guard than the movements that passed the guard, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and when
really, you felt like the pace was?
Come out when Keenan passed Vinny's guard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the pace I thought that passed the guard. Like, he just kept coming. He was relentless. He wasn't going to settle for not passing the guard. He was going to keep coming until he got it done. And I think just eventually Vinny broke. His guard broke. So,
well, being 35 pounds heavy, you might just you think he just gassed. That's interesting. See, I really genuinely thought Keenan just surprised him with some of the sweep games. I didn't see the fatigue as much. So that's interesting to hear.
Well, it's not fatigue necessarily, as so much as it is just they work in bursts. At the end of the match, they're both tired, but Keenan's working. He's just coming relentless, bang, 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 bang. He passed how long did it take him to pass it? 30 seconds of absolute relentless explosion and pace and throwing. He's changing sides on Vinny back and forth, going in, going out, back and forth to the side, and eventually he gets past. Because you don't pass a guy like Vinny from the open, like from standing like that easily in just one or two attempts. He just kept plowing it down his throat, man.
Do you think that Keenan was winning the mental game once he won the sumo match between him and Vinny and he ringed out? And follow-up question, what would you give in terms of ranking, Olympic style, on Vinny's landing when he did ring out?
Dismount. It was beautiful.
No, I don't think he won the mental battle. I think Vinny won the mental battle because he landed on his feet. Like, how do you not feel like a ninja after that happens? How you'll do like ninja stuff sometimes, and you look around to see if anybody saw. Well, everybody saw. That's like the greatest feeling in the world. You saw me make that half court shot. Nobody saw that. He made the half court shot. Everybody saw it.
Now all I can also see is how funny it would have been if he had fallen right on his ass, like if he had done that leap and just like down.
Sorry guys, match over. He fell on his head.
He just immediately breaks his tailbone. That would have made ESPN. They would have covered that for Metamoris. He was certainly dressed like a ninja.
Won the pregame Definitely won the pregame hype show
Well,
contest, that's for sure.
If you're bringing that up, we want to talk about how terrible that package was. That package they put together for Keenan versus Vinny was an afterthought. It looked like the blooper reel that they didn't use for the first time. And then when they showed the outtakes, I was like, these outtakes are 100 times better of Keenan just saying jokes than anything they remotely put together for that package.
I was like, you cut this and threw in the beach scene? Who the fuck is making decisions back there? This is terrible.
Dude, with him throwing away his IBJJF medals, that was pretty funny.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's fine. It's a punchline that took way too long to get to. You know what you do with that in a movie? You cut. You say, hello, I'm going to throw away my medals. Cut, smash, cut to rolling footage. And even the rolling footage at the beginning with Vinny happened for 2 minutes and nothing happened for the first minute and 30 seconds.
Well, I think you're expecting Halleck Gracie to be a great decision maker. When that's clearly not his track record.
It's not even that. It's like these guys do great videos, and that was a swing and a miss. And that's the disappointing part, is that when you know that these guys know how to make a great video. And I couldn't tell if it's well, we tried, or we don't know what to do because we've already done this before. Either way, hugely disappointing.
That was probably
but getting back to the match, what were your thoughts when Keenan got mount?
I thought it was a sign that Vinny was about to get subbed. Keenan kept swinging his leg around for that, almost like a topside rubber guard position. Like, it wasn't quite an S mount because he didn't have the angle, but he was bringing I think it was his right leg up behind the head and trapping both arms. So sort of like he was going for a mounted triangle, but both arms were in. So I thought he was going to try to set up an arm bar, but wisely he chose for the triangle instead, which I think was the right choice. But I thought it was looking dark at that point for Vinny.
It was surprising that he was able to get out of there. And when he wagged his finger, like, what? There was no big deal. It's like, that fucker was tight. You say whatever you want, Vinny. We saw it. Brandon, you've been rolling for a while against people that attack feet. You have the strong nogi game. When someone has you in a really good, they get that toe hold on, can you just kind of laugh it off like Vinny does? Does that affect you? Do you? Oh, okay.
No. For me, the toe hold's way scarier than the heel hook.
I completely agree, because I can't feel the pressure as much as I can with the heel hook.
Well, I'm scared to death of a toe hold. It's like, growing up playing basketball, you sprain your ankle over and over, like you land on somebody's foot, man. That's what a toe hold is, and they terrify me. So when Keenan grabbed that toe hold on Vinny, and do you see like how violently he turned his body? Like, wow, he tried to break it, and Vinny laughed at him, dude. He looked back and laughed at him, and then he picked his hand up and like kind of brushed his nose, like, "Come on, man."
Is that just nature? What is that?
Yeah, I think some people are just bendy.
Okay.
I think people just bend.
Well, some people say that they train it so much that they build up that kind of callus to it where they just don't even feel it anymore, or like they just don't have any bones left there. And that was the first thing I thought about.
I think that you can train your bones to get harder, like Muay Thai. You drive your shin, like Van Damme driving his shin into a tree till he bleeds. You could do that, make your bones harder. But you don't want to like make your tendons and ligaments more elastic. That's exactly what you don't want to happen. So I don't think it's just natural selection. Vinny was made by the gods to take toe holds.
I was gonna
to be very hard to submit,
Brandon. I'm gonna require you to use about 1,000 times more Jean-Claude Van Damme references in all of your analysis from here on out when you appear on this goddamn show.
Done.
So last time we spoke to, or the first time, we spoke to Brandon, you had just written a very popular song about Metamoris 3 called I Dominated Eddie, which is a biographical account of how that final match went. If you've never heard it, you'll want to see it and hear it. That'll help. Are you inspired by anything? Yeah, it's on the YouTubes. Are you inspired by anything that happened at Metamoris 4 already, or are you taking suggestions? Where are you at on this?
I was thinking about writing a song maybe about the Saulo versus Cabrito match.
Oh no.
But I fell asleep before they hit the ground.
Okay, well, that's
so
joke
bad.
1. I'm just going to write that. That was good. That was nice. I was watching with my girlfriend, and she just, like, politely looks over and goes, "Are they older?" Yes. Yeah, they are. I'm just going to throw some suggestions out there. Raph, I don't know if you were also thinking about that as you watch Metamoris 4.
I'm always
But,
thinking
yeah, Josh's uniforms inside him, I think, would be a good punchline for a song. Because at one point,
I'm name for a song. We'll figure that out.
Josh's uniforms inside him. Just throwing that out there. That's a nice early one. The secret match for a reason. I don't know what that song's about. I just like the title, "The Secret Match ... for a reason." And those are the 2 suggestions I have for you. That's all I got.
I
need
have
to
right
write
now.
like a really heavy song called Muffin Top. That's what I think is going to have to happen.
You know what? This is why you're the songwriter.
I was going to say, that's better than anything I have. I'm just saying.
Well, of course it is.
Oh, that's just mean and appropriate, actually, now that you bring that up.
Yeah, I'd talk a lot more shit if I wasn't like a month or 2 months late already on delivering his song/video. So I'm struggling.
Well, Brandon, let me say this to you, my man. It is always great to have you on the podcast. I also had the honor of getting to train with you about a month and a half ago. And Brandon, if he wants to talk about the fact that every once in a while he likes to see if anybody sees ninja shit happening, he did ninja shit to me. And
Cool.
The more amazing part is announcing that was some ninja shit as it's happening.
Well, no one was watching to yell it for him, so he had to yell it himself.
You got to get the attention. Did everybody see that?
Well, the funny part is he was asking me, did I see that ninja shit? And I'm like, clearly not, for 2 reasons. Number 1, it happened to me. Number 2, I can't see me losing terribly like this. So I just want to say it was truly awesome to get to train with you. Brandon, where can people go train with you, all that good stuff? Give people the rundown on where they can find you.
I'm in North Alabama, in Decatur, Alabama, 10th Planet Jiujitsu. Swing by anytime. I'm going to be teaching a couple of seminars coming up. I'll be in Gulf Shores, Alabama, myself, Sean Applegate, Adlai Cleveland from Detroit, and then one of our top competitors in black belts, Nathan Orchard from Portland, Oregon.
Awesome.
We'll all be doing a 10th Planet camp down in Gulf Shores at the end of this month, August 30th. And then in November, I can't remember the exact date. I want to say it's the 7th through the 9th. I'll be teaching in Detroit, myself, Eddie Bravo, Adlai Cleveland, Scott Einstein, Epstein, Chris Herzog. We're all going to be up there in Detroit teaching training camp for the 10th Planet Bulls. But everybody's invited. You don't have to be on the 10th Planet team. Just come on and let's all train together. It'll be fun.
It's good stuff, my man.
That's awesome. Absolutely. Well, Brandon, we always appreciate you stopping by to recap some jiu-jitsu with us. Ladies and gentlemen, 10th Planet Decatur's own Brandon McCaghren.
What?
All things Metamoris here at Verbal Tap. We have a very special guest, special for multiple reasons. We have on the line Eric Medina. Eric, how are you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
So you not only broke the news to us about who was going to be in the secret match, you have also fought one of the competitors from the secret match. And this has nothing to do with anything, but I watched some of your videos and I've been trying to improve my Darce game based off of what I've seen from you. That's just an aside.
Well, when you only have one technique, like, it's not that hard to, like, zero in on it.
Shut up. You have one technique. Whoa, whoa.
You and Justin Rader have made it perfectly evident. I need to learn it better. How did you get the information to break the secret match? You honestly might have been of like top 5 first people to do it. Where'd it come from?
Well, check this out. This is like really funny because I'm pretty sure I was the first, and this is how it happened. So me and my girlfriend were driving to the venue, and we're pulling into the parking lot. And the parking lot has 2 entrances. So we're in one, and in the next car, there's somebody who's kind of like, they're giving him a hard time. They're not letting him park, and he's kind of getting agitated. And I look over, and it's Barrett Yoshida. I'm like, oh, crap, what's Barrett? And Bonnie's like trying to drive off. I'm like, no, stop. Like what's going on over here? And he's trying to explain to them that, like, he gets to park for free. And they're like, you're not on any of the lists. Like, who are you? Like, no, you're not. And so Barrett's like, oh, man, like, like, I get to park for free. He's, like, sticking to his guns. And they're like, you're not on the list. So, like, I'm like, oh, what's going on? And then somebody, like, over the mic comes up like, oh, no, he's a secret match. Boom, right there. 1/2 right there, Barrett Yoshida. So I recently.
Wait, hold on. Just let us have a second to reflect on that. You heard it because some parking a-hole didn't have his list together, and this is just another reason in the long line of why parking a-holes are ruining them. That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay.
It was kind of like, did that just happen? Like, were we just privy to that? Like, did anybody else hear that? Like, does everybody, like, know what people look like? So check this out. I saw Barrett compete maybe, like, 2 weeks ago at the last Dream Jiu-Jitsu, and he looked great. And so, like, it kind of made sense. Like, if you're going to do a big tournament, you're going to knock out one right before just to get, your pre-match jitters, make sure everything's working great. And, Barrett actually has a bunch of high-level guys underneath him, and they're all kind of little guys, too. So, like, his gym is packed full of killers. Barrett is also, like, a multiple-time ADCC vet. Like, he's legit. He's a great competitor.
What did you feel like, though, Eric, when you had to be one of the first people to know? Just like a civilian, I guess. But you had to be one of the first people who had that information. What was going through your mind?
I was like, oh, cool. So here's the thing. Like, I had one piece of the puzzle, but I needed the other half. So then that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to know who else was the other person. So we get there, we park, and the very first thing I do is I walk to the tents where all the competitors are warming up. So I don't check in. I don't, like, walk to the entrance. I'm, like, already sneaking around in the back. So I'm looking around. I see Dean. I see Josh Barnett. Now I'm looking for, like, another little guy. Like, who could possibly be here? And I don't see anybody. I don't see anybody warming up that, like, would potentially be a match for Barrett or anything like that. So, like, okay, I ditched the area. Now I'm walking in, like, the little reception area where they had food and vendors and stuff like that. And I'm looking around, and I don't see anybody. Like, I just, like, it doesn't. I'm looking for that same generation. I'm looking like, who's a no-gi badass here? And I see plenty of guys, but I don't see any big guys, or I'm sorry, little guys. So this is my thing now. I'm limited to, like, quicks. Like, see a couple 10 Planet shirts here. Like, who's in the? And then I look, and I'm like looking at Einstein. I'm like, Einstein. Maybe Einstein and Barrett. Would that go down? And then I, like, cozy up to Einstein, and he's just, like, drinking beer. Oh, it's not him. Like, he doesn't care about anything. Like, and then I see Jeff.
So Detective Medina is, like, snooping around Metamoris, looking for the other half of this puzzle. This is fantastic.
You're short selling by calling it snooping.
Gadget.
You're not Inspector Gadget. How dare you?
You are
a penny or a brain.
He is so like Inspector Gadget in this particular
100%
scenario.
Like it. The only thing that I think is really throwing me off here is not just that you're investigative, but like a cop in a, like, 1930s film investigating, like, what's going on here, see? The other thing that's throwing me off is the amount of access you're getting. You're just like, oh, I'll just walk
No
back.
problem whatsoever getting anywhere he wants. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like you kind of like learn how to just like walk fast and with a purpose, and people don't bother you.
It's true.
And then I remember like I was walking behind Helic for a little bit just to like eavesdrop, and I got nothing. But like I like inserted myself with various cliques and crowds. But check this out. This is like the funny part that was like funny like after the fact. So I see Jeff there, right? And I go and I give him a big hug, and we talk for a little bit. Look at him, and I tell him like, dude, you look way too pretty to be part of a secret match. And he smiles and he looks at me, and then he gets pulled away to do something, right? Later on, like maybe 10 minutes later, he says, "Don't blast the secret match." I'm like, "What the heck are you talking about?" Like, so I let it be, right? Like I don't respond or anything like that. I'm like, okay, like.
Oh my god.
Then, when it all comes to fruition, he's like taking off his clothes, doing a striptease, jumping on the mat, like swinging his like suit jacket around over his head, throwing it in the audience, like, oh, this motherfucker. Jeff thought that I had figured it out. I was just making fun of Jeff. Like, it was just really funny. I'm like, when it all goes down, like, I'm dumbstruck. Like, oh shit.
You are so dumb. Eric, let me put this to you real quick. I like that you were the cop. You were Chaz Palminteri in The Usual Suspects. That's exactly what just happened here, where Kaiser Soze. Have you seen the movie? Do you understand this reference?
No, I don't.
I'm
But
so furious
at
at you for an entirely different reason now, but we'll get there. Because oddly, when you had given me the first piece of the puzzle, I went to my party and like 3 people without fail just go, "Oh, it's Glover," and I go, "You're right. You're 100% right." Oh yeah, we pieced it together based off of your intel, and sure enough, when this is the thing that pissed me off about at least how it looked on camera at home, is that they shot to Jeff like a half second too early.
Just a little.
The reveal would have been great because Jeff was mugging a little bit, and that's fine because that's what Jeff does. But then they show footage of him being like a little baby, being like, "Ooh, me? Ooh, what? I could never possibly be in a secret match. Boom! I've got spats. Peace."
Well,
but,
he looked like he didn't look like he was ready for a match. Like, I mean, like he had like a 3-piece jacket on. Like he did, like he was like smooching with everybody. Like he wasn't like bouncing around warming up. Like apparently that's just Glover. He just does whatever he wants. Like no big deal. But I don't.
Yeah.
He's not a regular person.
He is not. And this is funny because this is speaking as somebody who, I don't want to out you entirely, but has your Darce game not improved since you've trained with Jeff and then later fought him at EBI?
Well, here's like a little piece of that story. Like when I was a white belt, Jeff lived in North Hollywood, and I would do private lessons with him, and like he actually taught me the Darce. Then he moved down to San Diego and took the teaching job at Victory MMA, and since then like I've like gotten a little better hopefully, but like it's cool to see everything like come full circle. Yeah. But he actually was like hunting for the Darce a little bit there, but that was a great match. That was like one of the most entertaining matches.
And I want you to walk us through it. So, talk to us a little bit about the match. How did it look like live? And maybe because you faced him, you can explain a little bit. He calls it the donkey guard. I'm pretty sure it's the twerking guard.
Well, it's he opened the match with that with the same kind of back like exposure that he did for Kaio the first time they met, and it looked like Barrett was like a little wary, but he still went for it, and like Jeff was like in great position for most of the match, and he actually plays that donkey guard really well. He controls your upper body, controls your posture, and then he's attacking your feet the entire time, and he's got just like a great safe position to do it in. It looks kind of funny. It's very unorthodox, and he definitely plays it up where it's a trap, But like you could only stand there for so long with somebody like antagonizing you or like playing with you before you attack them. And like Barrett like would hold off, but then he would attack. And there was one point where it looked like Jeff mounted for a little bit and then went for that one of his triangles, and it looked perfect. The setup was beautiful, and but Barrett's a tough guy, and he got out. When Jeff was revealed to be the secret match, like it was kind of cool. The crowd went wild. Like everybody stood up to see him, and like started cheering and stuff like that. Like, now it made sense that Frangio was there. Watch his boy compete. Scotty was in the building. Like, all of Jeff's sponsors and on his crew was there. Obviously, like Victory MMA was there. Dean was having a fight. But,
Yeah,
like, all of Jeff's little training partners, the smaller guys were there too. So it kind of made sense. It was a really entertaining match. God, it went to 20 minutes too.
Yep.
So that was pretty cool. Sometimes Jeff Glover's matches end pretty quick. Like he gets the kill and he gets out of there. But he looked great for the 20 minutes.
No kidding. He was in great shape. Did it feel at all like he could have, because this was my only takeaway. I thought it was a good match, and I definitely think Barrett started to get his game back a little bit in the last 10 minutes. It felt like Jeff could have actually submitted him in those first 5 minutes. What's your take on that?
To be quite honest, like I don't know too much about Barrett, but like I don't know many people who've tapped him. He's a tough dude. He still competes. Like, the transitions were there. Jeff definitely like even took him down a couple times. But I think the closest he came was probably to the mount and maybe like a footwalk. Right?
Okay.
Because other than that, there's a lot of transitions, a lot of scrambles, a lot of changing positions, but like fun positions and fun scrambles. And like, Jeff had side a bunch of times, and they fought for the takedowns, and it was a good exchange match. But as far as actually like submission attempts, I think there were like only 2 that were really there.
Did you at all get surprised by any part of Yoshida's game?
Just a few times when Barrett pulled guard, he kind of just like fell right down. He didn't like secure the closed guard or anything like that. I was like, okay, like you could have just like sat down, like you have to like jump up there to just fall down. I don't know, but like Barrett's a killer. Barrett also is known for his Darces too, actually, now that I think about it. That would have been cool. That would have been cool. Like if you could only use one technique, like you guys are gonna Darce each other. That's the only way you could win.
Do you guys have like a message board for Darce choke users?
Yeah, and I'm like on the lowest of the totem pole.
I figured, but hey, you're in.
Hey, you're in. That's the most important thing.
But I'm constantly warned by the admins to be quiet.
Sure.
Shut up, noob.
Any last? I'll say this: it did look like genuinely Yoshida spent the first 10 minutes trying to figure out what the fuck Jeff was doing.
Well, let me ask you this, guys. Like, how do you feel like the whole secret match thing? Like, do you feel like that was a good call to have, or like it would have been better if you just put Jeff and
100% say this in confidence to just our verbal tap listeners. I think when you build it up as a secret match, it's tough because you do want it to have that intrigue and that mystery. But it's a little weird when the person's just earning their payroll and their paycheck twice. Like, he was already on the bill and getting paid, so why not? Yeah, Jeff, get in there. Come on. I think it's not a knock to Jeff or to Barrett because they're both great competitors. They gave us something that was entertaining to watch. But in terms of promotion, one of our persons put, kind of was hoping for something more worthy of keeping a secret. And I don't know that they're wrong about the kind of posting that idea. Kev, what's your takeaway?
We said this when they announced it. We were like, it either has to go for the first one, just especially for the first one, they have to go big because it has to have been cooler. Like, to keep it a secret, that means that they would have had to have almost taken a hit. The match would have had to have been cooler had they promoted it as the match. This was the opposite. Not to say that it wasn't a fun match to watch, but when Barrett Yoshida came in, like, Jeff Glover had to do the explanation because Kenny Florian didn't know who it was. Like, and that just says that they didn't pick maybe... If this had been billed as an actual fight, of course we'd been excited. Jeff Glover's amazing to watch. He's amazing to watch anytime. I'm not sure that they should have kept this secret because it felt like they probably kept it secret because no one would have been as interested. So I concur. And Jeff Glover was sitting right there. It wasn't a secret Jeff Glover was going to be there. So it was...
And, you know, like, maybe if you don't know who Barrett Yoshida is, you would have known from the promos. You would have known from, like, the whole countdown they do or, like, all, like, the hype around the fight. You know, like, maybe you would have, like, been more impressed with his resume, you know, if they would have just introduced you. Because, you know,
I don't know. I was thinking on how to promote it, and you usually want to say that you let the jiu-jitsu speak for itself, but you can put a highlight reel together and you still have to make the person engaging and really build their narrative and their story. So it really is confusing when you have this problem where a match was going to get canceled with Kit Dale, and we all know who the fuck he is, but yet the real person who needed the video package was in the secret match.
Yeah.
Let me just say this. I would have been more excited had they announced Eric Medina versus Jeff Glover.
The crowd would have gone crazy. They would have gone crazy making their way to the restroom for, like, the, you know.
How dare you? How dare you?
For the break, the action.
First of all, Eric, how much...
They could have built it as a rematch, though. That would have made me feel better. Like...
How much would you have shit if at the end of your investigation, it turns out it had all been an elaborate hoax to reveal to you that you were in the secret match? And like, all of a sudden, you're under the mat and you see, like, an envelope that's like, you found it, and you get there and you open it up. It's like, congratulations, you're facing Jeff Glover in 7 seconds.
You're saying genius things, because what if it was a ruse that whole him getting bad parking situation was all just part of the play, part of the con?
That would have been phenomenal.
I walk up and, like, Kit Dale, like, offers me a choice. He's like, you could go with the red pill or the blue pill. I'm like, what the? Like,
Pollock just comes over to you. He sees you look at the golden ticket right afterwards, and it's just like, so, bro, do you want to do this? Do you want to? I mean, I can make it happen. Do you? Okay, so you're good. All right, see you in a second.
Like, one of the posters of Helio winks at me. Like, I'm like, what the, where am I?
Well, Eric, it wasn't your day yesterday to compete, but we hear rumors that you'll be competing on the next EBI.
That's what the rumor is. That the next one is going to feature 135 and 155 pounders. So that's definitely my size. I competed at the first one at 145 and won my first match. But, you know, this is EBI is also like another like crazy event. Everybody's going for the kills. No boring matches. Like local stars, big names. Like, you know, whoever wants to get out there and throw down. Like it's a good show. It's a good event. You know, sometimes like there were a couple matches last night that, like, you know, you could have missed 5 minutes and nothing happened, and that kind of sucks. You know, like especially if you're trying to put jiu-jitsu, like make it big and put it on a map. You know. But, you know, like, there were a lot of great matches, too. Like, you know, every match last night, like, had something cool about it, you know, whether it be, like, the judo battle, like, between Salo and Comendo, like, you know, friggin' Josh Barnett going crazy, like, you know, bringing back, like, pro wrestling. Like, it's cool, you know. But
we
EBI,
definitely agree.
EBI, like, you're going there to watch submissions and people get, like, you're either going to be a hero or you're going to lose, you know? Like, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
And tons of fun to watch post-production. I watched every second of EBI on Vimeo. Great stuff.
Yeah. And I think what we're alluding to here is I think that means that we need to get you on to talk a little bit about your training and, you know, how preparations are going before you compete in EBI. So you up for that?
Yeah, definitely. I know. Actually, we have like a lot of big stuff going on at the academy at Jean Jacques. We have a couple guys getting ready for some big stuff. There's other promotions out there besides BI and Metamoris that are going to be coming up with some super fight shows. So, it's going to be a good time to step up the training camp. We only have like a little bit of time, but like this is like the biggest time in jiu-jitsu, like where if you're going to do it, you're going to do it now. And, I'm definitely going to go after it. Like I have a great camp. I have a bunch of people behind me. Like I have, I even have like, access to Eddie and like the whole 10th Planet system. So, all those guys push me. Like it's not, even though like you don't come from like an Autos or like a Gracie Bahab, like, or even a Lloyd Irvin, like all the super teams, like you still have a lot of resources and a lot of guys that are going to help you get better.
Yeah, you come from a pretty good one, though. You still come from up in the nice ranks of great schools to compete with, and you have access to some awesome training partners. We're looking forward to it. Do you have any idea who else you might be fighting?
There's some rumors around like me doing a potential super fight against one of the current world champions, Nogi. But I mean, that's just rumors. We'll see what's
What
going
a
on.
great tease! That's such a great tease. I'm all into that. That's perfect.
But I'm just, I'm just a little guy from the valley. Like I don't huge accolades or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. I just
simple man.
Oh, just me, the lowest totem pole on the Darce forum. No big deal. Took on a Metamoris competitor. Whatevsies.
Loving life.
Well, let's say this, Eric. You definitely win the award, the Verbal Tapcast Award for Best Investigative Journalism.
Absolutely.
Without question. And we want to thank you for breaking the news to us. And not just to all, like me and Kevin, but there was a number of people who learned what the secret match was because of you. So much props to you. And, dude, we can't wait for...
What was cool about it, though, what was cool is that nobody announced it until, everybody knew,
Yeah.
And I think, that was kind of cool because they actually did a really good job of keeping it a secret. Like,
yeah,
I know guys on their team, like, I'm buddy with a couple of them, and, like, nobody ever said anything. Like, nobody leaked it, Like, Jeff didn't say anything. Like, you had to find out by accident, like I did, like a parking attendant. Like that's all it came down to, right place, right time. But
true fact.
I don't know. I don't know. Like, I don't know how I feel about the secret match. Like, I would have been excited to see Jeff and Barrett. Like, it didn't have to be a secret, But maybe they do away with it. Maybe they bring it back. Maybe, maybe they have, a spin the wheel and, okay, if a bunch of guys' names are on the board and, you two fight or something like that,
Well, let's try and make sure that we're not making Metamoris into a game show, because I don't know that we have the hosts to pull that off.
I'm 50-50. Eric, you've got a seminar to get to. We appreciate you swinging by the podcast. Am I getting this right? You're the Darce Knight on Twitter?
I don't think I have a Twitter.
Oh, okay.
You don't think you have one?
I just saw at the Darce Knight a few times.
I don't believe in Twitter.
Okay.
Well,
you can
Instagram,
find him
so
just
go find him there.
Or local Valley restrooms. Just write messages at the Darcy Knight. He will respond to them occasionally. We are stoked to have you back to talk about the next Eddie Bravo, and good luck on the training, my man.
Thank you very much, guys. We will see you soon. Feel free to stop by the academy anytime. I'm always there. And I'll see you guys at VMAC too.
VMAC.
Sounds like a plan, my man.
Okay, guys,
ladies and gentlemen, Inspector Eric Medina. We're going to keep the Metamoris coverage rolling, hey. Of course, we're bringing on people, thank you, smarter than ourselves. Our next guest is no exception. Brent Burniston, black belt under Jean-Jacques Machado, and apparently scarf choke expert is here to help us break down Dean Lister versus Josh Barnett. Brent, how are you doing this evening?
I'm good.
Talk to us about your first thoughts when the robe of Josh Barnett came off.
Josh is known to be kind of crazy, and it's not the first time he's wore those shorts. Back in the old
shorts?
MMA days.
Are we?
Well,
we're
all right, underwear, whatever you want to call it. He a lot of his early MMA matches and stuff, he wore those shorts, and Josh is one of those crazy guys that likes to come out and shock the crowd a little bit, and just another opportunity for him to make his mark.
I was a little less optimistic. It was good to see all of Josh Barnett, though. Good to see every inch.
I think the best part of it was watching the crowd's reaction every time he, I was just looking in the crowd and watching people as, like Josh spun to north-south, and people in the audience were just horrified.
He almost Kentucky sunglassed Dean Lister. It was very close at a certain point. And if people don't know what that is, look that term up.
Please don't. Brent, can I ask you this? For you as a resident expert here, what is the first thing that goes into your mind when you see Josh Barnett as a competitor wearing what he's wearing?
These guys are all professionals. He can wear whatever he wants out there. It's not really going to matter, when the match starts. You would prefer a guy that had some regular shorts on or whatever, but it's the rules. It's you're grappling a guy no matter what he's wearing. So
sure, I guess
it really wouldn't affect me. Or I don't think you said these guys are rolling around with guys, in the gym with shirts, without shirts. I mean, it's
it's part of the game. Yeah, I think the follow up to that is, do you think the shoes may have helped with any of that traction though?
Yeah, I think especially in side control, when he was able to use the pressure. He's pushing off on the mat, using great shoulder pressure. It certainly did help, but he's also taken a chance, having the shoes on. A lot of people that like leg locks, look at a guy in the shoes and think, oh, this is going to be easy. It's a lot harder for you to slip out on the heel hooks and things like that. But Josh is also an expert in leg locks. He trains with, the name just completely slipped my, Eric Paulson. And Eric Paulson is, he's been known for a long, long time as being one of the really good leg lock experts out there. And Josh has finished a lot of fights, via leg lock as well. So, I didn't think Dean was going to do anything to surprise Josh with the leg locks, and I think that, having the shoes gave Josh a lot of extra traction. And was really going to help, and they really help with takedowns and pushing off, and exploding into the takedowns, and then, like I said, just side pressure, side control pressure, being able to push off and not slip on the mat.
Now, Brent, what were your expectations going into this match? Did you have a favorite, or did you see it going as a draw, or what were your thoughts before any of this even took place?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was pretty certain that it was going to be a draw. I didn't think there would be a ton of action. I saw Josh being on top, Dean trying to sweep, and Josh just kind of playing it safe and being the heavier guy. And like I said, with the leg locks, I didn't think Dean would be able to get it just because Josh knows too much about leg locks, and he was going to be able to kind of that was going to kind of cancel each other out. And, I just thought that it would kind of end up with Josh mostly, in butterfly guard or guard, and that would be it. The match really surprised me as it started to go, and seeing just how effective Josh was at passing the guard. I think he passed his guard within 3 or 4 minutes of the match.
Yeah.
And from that point forward, it was just pressure. Stayed in side control for a long time. Was able to. I think he had him in an early cradle at the first part of that, just kind of holding on. And I thought Josh's
definitely had a cradle.
Yeah, I think Josh's game plan was perfect. He played it absolutely perfect. He kept a ton of pressure all the time. Always kept his weight on top of him, and you could see that Dean was just getting tired. He just, it was a lot of weight, to hold down, and Josh just said he's a top level grappler. He's one of the top guys, and you have a guy bigger than you, and also skilled, who knows how to use his weight. It's going to cause some problems for you.
I was physically shocked. Like, I had trouble containing it, seeing how big Josh Barnett was compared to Dean Lister. And it felt like every one of Dean Lister's training partners ever was like, see how that feels? Just so you remember this feeling, big guy. What would you say you would have recommended strategy-wise? Where did you think Dean Lister was kind of falling short? Because frankly, I was really surprised how comfortable he seemed to want to be in letting him take the guard. Where did you fall on that?
Yeah, it's so tough, just because Josh is an expert grappler as well. But I would have liked to see Dean, maybe in the butterfly guard try to scoot, with underhooks, and with bigger guys, a lot of times what I always try to do is create angles, and Dean kind of seemed to fall on his back a little bit, and you get a big guy who puts a lot of pressure on you. You don't want to be flat on the mat ever. And, there was a couple times where Dean was, laying just square on his back, and not, turning to the side, not trying to get the underhook. So from that standpoint, just trying to create the angles, I think, on the bottom, and trying to move to the side and create, maybe some more scrambles.
Yeah, I'm just writing this down. We have a big guy at my gym too, so I'm trying to take notes. It's like, okay,
yeah,
angles.
with those guys, you always try to create angles and have them move. When you have a big guy and he's able to sit on the mat and not move that weight, but put it on top of you, that's going to be to their advantage. Those guys, you want to make them move. You want to take them out. They're used to grabbing guys and smashing them, put them on the back, and just holding and not moving a lot. So the more that you can make a match move, those big guys carry their own weight around. You're able to, hopefully that's the game plan. Make them tired enough that you can, get to their back and choke them.
Wear those huge thighs out. Talk us through, because I'm not 1,000% sure I even necessarily understand. I guess it was kind of a neck crank. Talk us through the submission that we see. He gets him in that. I mean, it's sort of the judo side control is what we refer to it.
In judo, they call it a scarf hold, and it's a pinning technique, but you can modify it a little bit. And what there again, this is Josh Barnett all day long. What it really is he was pulling on the neck, but what really probably tapped him was not being able to breathe. Josh was just too big. He's I think he's 255.
So you're saying he couldn't breathe? So it was like whatever he weighed, 265.
Yeah, it's your Boss Rutan used to do a thing in Pancrase where you reach back and grab the leg, and you basically kind of fold them around your body. And it's similar to that, but what it's doing is it's really putting a ton of pressure on the chest, so it's making it really hard to breathe. Some of the neck crank may have also hurt, but I don't think Dean probably taps to just the pain there. I think he was just really tired and having a hard time breathing. he probably normally wouldn't have been caught, but he was laying flat, and it's the worst position you can be. If somebody passes your guard, you can't lay flat. You need to turn into them, and his elbow should have been down, blocking his hip. And there's a million things, and Dean knows all these. It's no secret. He was just tired.
It's not like somebody in the crowd just goes, "Oh, come on, Dean."
Yeah,
Seriously,
yeah.
Dean, you don't know how to get out of that? No. I think you're right. And this is something that was fun. I was actually at the same viewing party with Brent. And this is how you can tell just how shocking this moment was. That when it did happen and Dean taps out, there's this great moment of nobody kind of knows exactly how it happened. They saw the scarf hold, but they're like, is that what happened? And everybody turns to Brent and goes, is that what happened? And Brent goes, yes. I'm now speaking as the governing body, everybody. Yes, that's what happens. And it starts explaining to all of us. But one cool thing that was at the party that was happening was that there was talk of who was the last person to tap out Dean Lister. And I think you knew who it was.
I think, I don't know if I heard, but I thought I heard it was Rico Rodriguez maybe.
Yes.
Back in the day. I don't know if that's true. That could be just, something that I made up in my head or whatever.
Well, you made it up and the internet did, because I went to go double check it and I was like, I think you're right. And yes, I think that as far as my detailed Google search of 3 times could tell me, yes, I think that was the last time.
Yeah, Rico, especially back years ago, was just, he still is, a phenomenal grappler. And, it doesn't surprise me, especially back, 14 years ago or whatever it's been.
But what is the significance of this for Dean Lister's, career? I mean, it's kind of weird because people love streaks. People love to see things go on forever. But just, what does this mean for Dean in your eyes?
Man, there's so many great, fighters who have been tapped. I mean, Marcelo Garcia has been tapped. It's not, as far as a career thing, or if it puts a tarnish on anything, absolutely not. Dean has been a great grappler for years. I mean, he's fought the best guys. He's won some, he's lost some. He's won more than he's lost. And he's been fighting top level guys for a very long time. To tap to a fighter who's 35, 40 pounds heavier than you, in world class, himself, it doesn't mean anything. Everybody, you do this game long enough, you're going to get tapped, and that's just how it works. And and especially you lay it on the line in a competition like this, and he gets tapped, so be it. That's how the game goes.
If anything, just seeing the trajectory of Dean Lister's career might find some new motivation, which would be really fun as we see him move forward.
Yeah, and you see that sometimes, guys that get really good at not being submitted sometimes will get lazy. They'll allow people to get them in positions because they think, I'm not going to get submitted. And sometimes, maybe their technique isn't quite as good as it should be in times, just because he's like, you can't get me, and sometimes, and this may have been kind of one of those situations. He was super tired. He stayed flat on the mat, right when he got his guard pass, he just kind of laid there thinking, there's 20 seconds left to go. Yeah. You're not going to submit me. And then all of a sudden, it happens.
This was kind of weird, and I don't know what your impression of this is either, Brent, but there was a weird moment where Hollick jumps on stage, because he does that every once in a while. He feels the spirit, and he feels that he needs to be a part of whatever it is, but he goes up on stage, and I think we all forgot midway through that this was for the heavyweight championship for Metamoris. Was it weird to have, I guess, the president of the organization, instead of handing him a championship belt, ask, "Oh, are you coming back?" Like, don't you think that's something that you take care of ahead of time, or,
Yeah, you would think that the guy that was kind of going to be fighting for the organization would be on board, but I guess it's a new organization. It's new. Everything is kind of, they're going to have their glitches at the beginning, and that's just how it is. And if you remember the early UFCs, there were a lot of glitches, a lot of crazy things happening. They'll work through that, and I think, Josh also has, his MMA career. I mean, he's still, a tough guy that probably, could have a shot at a championship again. So, you don't know where his alliance stands, I guess, if you want to say. But I think Josh will do it again. I mean, Josh is a samurai, man. He's going to come to put on a performance, whether it's Metamoris or whether it's UFC or whatever.
Now, are there any names that jump at you for a competitor for that title or a challenger, if you would?
Buchecha. I think Buchecha's the guy that would most likely, I think, in my opinion, Buchecha's probably the best grappler right now, at any weight class. There's some others. I mean, I would even like to see Shanji, I think the weight difference would be tough, but, Shanji there again, he's also another samurai. That guy is incredible. He's got his guard doesn't get past, I mean, he's the man. Hodger, I'd like to see Hodger get back into sport grappling, and, that could be another match.
I like all of these options. I think that you just put out the first three that came to my head when I was like, yep, I'd watch any one of those three.
Yeah, I think any three could sell a card. I certainly, I'd love to see any of the three.
Well, wherever this mythical belt is that we didn't get to see yesterday, whatever it is, I'm sure it's super exciting. Brent, I want to thank you for stopping in real quick. I did want to plug Subconscious Jiu-Jitsu. For those not in the know, Brent has a really, really cool set of classes that he teaches out here in Los Angeles. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that for people who may not be familiar with it?
Yeah, subconsciousbjj.com. It's got just a great school. That was, I think there's a lot of great jiu-jitsu schools, obviously, here in Southern California. But it's a place where, I feel jiu-jitsu is for everyone, from, top level, to competition grappling to, a guy that just wants to come in and learn, a few things. We do it all. It's a great atmosphere. I love it. I couldn't be happier. Everybody's super friendly. So come on out, check us out.
Yeah, definitely. When you're saying everybody's there who's friendly, you are not lying, my man. Every one of the people who trains under you is super respectful, very helpful, and one of my favorite places to go train by far. And what's really nice? For those in the know for our podcast, our good friend John Evans is friends with you. And before we'd even really talked, it was like, no, we're friends. If you're friends with John Evans, it's a done deal from there.
Yeah, who can't be friends with John Evans? So that guy's, like Captain America, super nice.
Oh, what are you talking about?
Nice,
no, that's
some people.
Josh. I want to say that's so nice of you to say, Brent. Oh, geez, that's so great. But Brent, where can people look up Subconscious Jiu-Jitsu? Where can they find that?
Yes, subconsciousbjj.com. I'm there, and then also, for some of you guys that like Instagram moves and stuff, I actually have an artist website that I post some of my jiu-jitsu stuff on, and it's Art of Motion on Instagram. I usually put on, once a week or so I throw up a move. You guys can check out.
And sometimes, if you're lucky, you'll see a John Evans as the test dummy in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's some of the most hilarious things to see, because, there's almost an art to being a good test dummy, and I feel John accomplishes it very well. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
as a person who's
Every time-
normally his test dummy.
Yeah, usually when I see him, in class, I'm like, oh, he reminds me. We have to do the move of the week, or I try to do it every week. I was doing it on one of my other Instagrams, but now I've been pretty good. I don't quite do it every single week, but I'm certainly trying to get one out every week for you guys.
Well, I'll let you know that every week you don't, my jiu-jitsu suffers. So I'm just saying, not really your fault, but kind of your fault. But Brent, I want to thank you for taking time to talk with us. You really helped shed some light on something that was a really cool moment, I think, in jiu-jitsu. Obviously now jiu-jitsu history for all of us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it, and look forward to maybe doing it again sometime.
That sounds like a plan, my man. All right, Brent Burniston, everybody. Here to help us review our sixth and final match, Chael Sonnen versus Andre Galvin. Andrew taught us the right way to say it, which was really helpful. We have BJJBreakdown.com's own, a fantastic BJJ instructor. I was actually just using some arm attack techniques you taught me a year ago. On the line, John Evans. John, how are you doing this evening?
Woo!
I think that's good. John is obviously who Chael was referring to when he was talking about bad guys always making the walk. That was basically John Evans' life story, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I thought there was no better way to come in than with a nice Ric Flair woo. So, it's Chael Sonnen. It's,
oh my God, he's learning, Kevin. He's learning. I'm so proud of John.
Me
I
too.
didn't think I would ever get through to him, but he's learning how to Ric Flair woo.
No,
He's feigning.
like after this Metamoris event, it's like I had to study up. I had to know my scarfold neck cranks. I had to know my bad guys, and gotta learn the sharpshooter. So,
well, that's easy. I will be happy to teach you that, John.
please do. It's clearly catch wrestling is what works in jiu-jitsu. So,
I mean,
what I need
that's
to learn.
what we learned. That's what we learned.
That's the biggest takeaway from Metamoris 4.
But we also learned that Chael Sonnen is not a fight dodger, nor is he a shabber. He's going to go at you. He pushes the action. What were you expecting from this match, John Evans?
I wasn't expecting really what happened, I guess.
Yeah.
I thought that, I honestly was not even expecting Chael to participate. Just not as a knock on Chael, because I think he's awesome, but just because the Nevada State Athletic Commission had such a big fine waiting for him if he decided to continue on with this match. It was I think it was $250,000.
Jesus.
Which
John, can I stop you here? Was that bullshit,
crazy.
though? Yeah, is that just an empty threat that they're doing because we're a day removed from all of this? Now, does that mean they're going to follow up with a fine? Do you think that they worked something out in secret behind because they gave him such a slap on the wrist with the original filing? Like, what does any of this shit mean?
That is a fantastic question. I have no idea. From what I've heard, Nevada State Athletic Commission, and as most athletic commissions, are pretty much like the way they make their money is by trying to fine the fighters, because they don't really pull in a lot of money by themselves, but with all these fines and penalties, that's kind of like how they line their wallets, from what I've heard. I don't know how true that is, but if you're fining someone a $250,000, then that's not going to go nowhere. So it's just a big political thing, and I know a lot of people really dislike having to deal with the athletic commissions in a lot of states. So
I don't know. I could really see them following through with it and actually finding him. But if you just think about it from like a growth of the sport perspective, it's just terrible. They're trying to. I mean, jiu-jitsu is not popular. Metamoris is probably the first thing that has really tried to come along and bring a lot of lights to jiu-jitsu and the community and try to get other people that aren't grapplers involved in watching the sport because it's a great sport. And you get a big name like Chael Sonnen, and that's really going to bring in a lot of people that don't participate in jiu-jitsu, and that's what we need from spectators. We need people to be able to watch it that don't actually participate in the sport. And then you have somebody like the NSAC just come along and try to kill that. Is we're still in its infancy and trying to build up the sport and bring awareness to it, and they're just trying to crush it. So it would have been terrible if he hadn't shown up, I think. But I don't know.
Governing body trying to use fines to make money and screwing his citizens. They could just call themselves the police. Am I right? Am I right?
God. It's now time for the Kevin T. Phillips socially conscious political hour, everybody. Let's move along. John, if I really want to get into this, let's just say take away all of your jiu-jitsu knowledge, take away all of your wrestling knowledge, take away all of the things that make you John Evans. Let's say you're watching this match. Were you entertained as a layman?
For this match, I mean, it ended in a finish, so I guess so, because that's always exciting. I don't know. That's hard to say. There wasn't a ton of action, especially if you don't know kind of the inner workings of it. I mean, Chael got that low single right in the beginning, which I thought was great, but I'm not sure if people would realize, like, he actually made it look so easy that just because he had really good timing on it, I'm not sure if people would even be able to appreciate that takedown right from the beginning. So aside from that, they were just kind of in Galvo's guard, and then as soon as Chael would get a little bit close to being submitted or something being set up, I guess he was never really close to being submitted, but any type of like arm drag or anything set up, he would just disengage like he should have, because you can always just stand back up, but then he would re-engage right away, unlike Schaub. So he was aggressive. He was trying to go deep into the guard of Galvo. So he wasn't playing playing it safe on that. He was really putting himself out there and trying to make something happen. But I'm not sure if the casual spectator would have really been able to tell any of that stuff was going on. It probably just looked like two people laying on each other until towards the end, when Galval started to get his body lock and then work his way to half guard and then to the back eventually.
Now, as a layman, that's your response. But now let's give you all of your jiu-jitsu back and all of your wrestling knowledge back. As you, John Evans, how did you feel about the match as a whole?
It was pretty good. I think it was probably better than expected. From Chael's point of view, he got the takedown early, which I thought that was good. He was in Galvo's guard, and of course there was a lot of pressure on him to not Schaub. So he was not Schaubing. He was really engaging, and he was, like I said, going deep into the guard. But then he was disengaging as soon as he felt like he was in danger, which is exactly what he should have done, especially when you are at such a technical disadvantage as he was. But he is a great wrestler and a great grappler, so it's not like he couldn't at least play a little bit in the guard. I'm not sure what kind of shape he was in, because since he stopped fighting, I don't know like how long he had to prepare for this, and I know with the whole NSAC thing, he even knew he was going to do the match, but he started to get a little bit tired, I think, and he just made like one or two mistakes, which is basically
more than enough
caused the end. But I thought he was doing pretty good. I expected him to honestly maybe not even engage as much, especially in the beginning. He was in the closed guard and he was just stiff arming the face of Galvo, which can be a little risky. You can get armbarred from that. So he was being a little bit risky, trying some stuff, but I thought he would disengage and maybe let Galvo stand up and try to take him down again. Just if for nothing else, like a moral victory. But that wasn't happening. Galvo was doing a lot of good stuff, but of course, once they start sweating a lot, like probably at the 4 or 5 minute marker, a lot of the stuff gets really tough in nogi because it's so slippery. So you have to make like really big holds around, like a body lock or a lockdown. Stuff like that really helps with nogi. So Galvo eventually was able to do that. But his guard was good too.
Very serious question for you, John. Do you feel like if Chael had worn the Speedo nut huggers, his chances as a wrestling survivor would have increased, or probably same result?
Does that include wrestling shoes or no?
I mean, a matching pair of pumps is never a bad thing, but...
Yeah, no, for sure. Yes, 100% he would have, he probably would have found some way to Boston Crab Galvo, and that would have been that.
Sounds right. Sounds like exactly what would happen.
Appreciating John Evans's total embracement of catch wrestling. I feel like the next class with you is going to be completely different, John.
Oh, you know it. I'll have that. The Carlos Gracie poster will come down, and the Carl Gotch poster will be up there. We'll all be in Speedos and knee pads, and we'll just be doing the damn thing.
Make sure you Instagram that for those of us playing along at home so I can see.
Oh, absolutely.
Every beautiful detail. So, takeaways, though. Andre Galvao, still very good at jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
Chael Sonnen, great at talking.
Extremely good as well.
Very good at it. Fun matchup. Scale of 1 to 10, John Evans, what are you giving that match? Knowing all you know about Metamoris competition.
I mean, honestly, when they started sweating, I thought that, I expected Galvo to submit Sonnen, but when they started sweating and when I saw a bit of Sonnen's defense, I thought it would probably go to a draw after about the 5 minute marker. So a bit surprised that Galvo was able to turn that body lock that he had with his arms into the submission. So I think a combination of Chael being a little bit tired, and then also like he tried to sweep instead of go back to his wrestling, Galvo off his back, or he basically, normally you'd think that they would do like a wrestler sit out or something like that, but he decided to try to do kind of like a sacrifice sweep, but that spelled his doom. So kind of surprised. So a little bit of a pleasant surprise because you get to see a finish. I'd probably give it maybe like a 7 out of 10.
Oh, okay. That's pretty good. That's
bad.
high praise.
Yeah,
Hey,
not
John.
bad. Especially after if I had to rescore it again at the 5 minute mark, because I thought it would be maybe more of a snore fest. But it was actually fairly good.
John, I wanted to know, there was a lot of talk at our party. And by the way, thank you for inviting me. That was very nice. I just showed up at John's door and he didn't turn me away. So thank you.
Never turn you away, baby.
Aw, thanks. But what I wanted to ask was, there was talk at our party about the overhook. I guess that people were saying Chael should have just gotten and stood back up. Can you explain that just to people and what you guys were meaning by that?
Yes. Well, like I was saying, he basically, when Galvao, he had, it was a little bit hard to see. There was like a bunch of people at the house, and, I was looking at the big screen, but I looked at it just yesterday when I got home and was watching the whole fight over again. And it looked like I thought the sweep happened completely from half guard that Galvao did on Chael. But the thing is that Galvao set that up from initially when they re-engage. He was able to get double underhooks and use that as a body lock from butterfly. But then he turned that into a half guard sweep attempt. He was still holding the body lock the whole time. So Chael, what he was doing is he was making an overhook just so Galval wouldn't come up and take his back. And then he was basically trying to Uchimata, which is, he was trying to, if you don't know what an Uchimata is, it's a Galval. If someone's on your back and they have a body lock around you with their arms, then you just take one of your legs and put it between your opponent's legs and try to flip them over with your hip. He was repeatedly trying to do this, which can be a great move, but I was just really surprised. Most wrestlers, what they're going to do is if two people are standing, one person is hugging around your waist and they're on your back, the wrestler is going to fight for hand position, and they're going to try to squat down and turn around very quickly. So break open the hands and just turn back and face you. But he didn't try to do that at all. He was content to sit there and try to Uchimata him. When Galval finally got to the far side, then that's when Chael decided to go for that sacrifice sweep, but that did not work out for him. So I was just surprised he didn't. He just didn't attack it like the way a wrestler would, and probably would have benefited more because he has years of experience trying to escape those positions. So that's what did it. But it's those strong body holds, like the body lock, stuff like that, that really set up the whole thing. So
that was my nickname in college. Strong body holds. I'm just
strong
saying.
Body hold. It still sticks today. So
it's a good one. Final thoughts from BJJ Breakdown's own John Evans. Overall, did you enjoy the Metamoris 4?
I did. Some surprises. Like I said, Galval Sonnen, I did not expect that to, especially after the first 5 minutes and in the submission. Within the first 5 minutes, I thought it would have, but after that, I was kind of surprised. So that was nice. I was really surprised at the Dean Lister match, just because Dean, you just never see that guy submitted. So
ask me if I was surprised, John. Ask me if I was surprised.
Were you surprised?
Yes, but I did call it. I'm just saying.
Hold on. No. That's called a contradictory statement. I was so surprised, I called it. What?
Yeah, I'm a complex guy, Raph.
No, you're not.
Old strong body locks, Phillips. Wait, what was it?
Wow. You're also an excellent memory
recaller.
Mm-hmm. Excellent with the recall.
I'm not the giver. Ooh. Just
too
impressed
literary.
With my own literary reference. Yeah, it's an MMA podcast. John, where can people find your spectacular Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu grappling match breakdowns?
That would be at either youtube.com/BJJ Breakdown, which is pretty much where all my stuff's residing right now, or BJJBreakdown.com, which I am in the process of redoing. So, yeah.
Yeah, BJJBreakdown.com, the Redux, as it would be called. Thanks for stopping by and giving us... Thanks for stopping by and helping us cap off our Metamoris Extravaganza podcast.
Oh, no problem. Thank you guys for having me.
Be on it. Ref, this has been a lot of Metamoris. It's been a lot of podcasts.
Ooh, yeah.
And it's been amazing. It really has. Big thanks to the entire cast and crew. I'm going to try and do this in order. Okay. Amechi, always.
Yep.
Always.
Always.
Jim Lawson, great perspective.
Still
fantastic
terrified.
Addition. Mm-hmm. You should be. Brandon McCaghren, I owe you a song. I know that, and I'm working on it, but we love
Kevin's
you.
the worst. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely the worst. Eric Medina, Inspector Gadget himself, for the great behind the scenes. That was really great. Brent Burniston, again, fantastic work. You brought out the star. This is the all-star team.
This is an all-star team. I would not
and obviously
in a game of jiu-jitsu or basically anything against these people, but yes, all-star indeed.
No, and rounded out by the industrious John Evans. Great stuff. It's time for some shout outs. I'll go first. Hey, I owe BJJ and MMA Academy out there in Chantilly and a lot of training partners a big thank you. Got the promotion recently. Got the purple colored belt. Feeling great about it, but it's a direct reflection of having phenomenal instructors. So big thanks to our black belts out there, Rob, Nick, Andrew, of course. We've got some other guys in the shoot. Scott's always been teaching me things. Mike, tons of great training partners, and they've just been important in making sure I got the proper beatdowns. So gotta respect that. BJJ Finder, the world's premier jiu-jitsu site locator. Plug in BJJ and MMA Academy, and you'll find us out in Chantilly, VA, killing each other all week in a respectful jiu-jitsu-based way. And that's going to do it for me, Rafa Esparza.
Well, I want to start by saying
out.
A huge congratulations to you, Kevin. It's one thing to be on this journey with you, but it's so great that when great things happen to you, apparently there's a thing in our brains now where we're connected. Because when Kevin was busy getting his promotion, I was over here in Los Angeles editing the episode of Around the Mat. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. We're going to do another episode coming up soon. And I just had this weird sensation to get a beer. I don't normally drink during the week. I'm more of a social guy drinking. And I was like, you know what? I feel a need for a beer. And my fiance's like, why? And I don't know. And lo and behold, by the end of the beer, I see a picture of Kevin with his beautiful new purple belt. And I said, well, that's how you know we work together. And it was a really cool experience. So for Kevin, it couldn't be happier for you, my man. And so fun to watch there and to see all the smiling faces on your gym. So congratulations to you, my man.
Thank you. Big thanks. The podcast helps. We consume a lot of jiu-jitsu. It just makes us
It's true.
jiu-jitsu smarter.
All right. I want to thank the good folks over at Higher Ground Jiu-Jitsu. Got to train with them this week. I got to sit in on a class and take a class, actually, with our good friend Jaime from BJJ Rants. That's Jaime Gonzalez. And, man, he is quite the teacher, Kev. I'll let you know that. He is...
I believe it. He's a thinker.
Oh, yeah, definitely not just a thinker, but just his way of explaining things. He's very happy to explain concepts with you and really work to whatever style of teaching works best for you, which is really interesting. It's fascinating. So I want to thank him. I also want to thank Ryan Fortin. We have a great little jiu-jitsu behind-the-scenes profile that we did with him, and I'm super excited to show you guys this. He came up, he brought his mats over, and we just shot a little bit of a profile on him and his jiu-jitsu experience and his journey. And he gave me a nice, cool private helping me out on some stuff that hopefully I get to try out on people unwillingly when they don't know I'm doing something. So we've got some fun stuff to do with him. So I'm looking forward to that. But so my shout outs to them, and always shout outs to Valley Martial Arts Center. This week I want to shout out Genta Vera is the funniest guy in the world. He's the most smiley guy that you can train with. And I've recently been giving him a bit of some mess because recently he was trying to break my guard, no-gi guard, if you would, and he started using his elbows. And I was like, De Vera, no. You use those fucking elbows and I'm fucking punching you in your face the next time. And, he's the nicest guy in the world. He just goes, okay, no. He starts using it. I was like, all right, well, I'll leave it at that. But De Vera is the smilingest, most fun kind of a guy that you can roll with because he's always making you feel better about your jiu-jitsu just by telling you how good you are. And the case is he's gotten so much better himself. And it's great to watch other people's journeys progress and grow. So to De Vera, I just want to say thank you very much, my man. You are a pleasure to train with. All right. I'm not normally the person to put this sort of stuff out there, but anniversaries really tend to force you to reflect upon these sorts of things. So 5 years ago today, I lost my mom. Now, I don't say this to elicit sympathy or to get you to feel bad for me, but I just wanted to share the following. A few months before I lost my mom, I signed up for my very first jiu-jitsu class. And that's when we got word that something might not be great. And when doctor's visits became more routine than time being spent on the mat, I began to wonder if this was going to be a hobby or just something that fell by the wayside. But her passing taught me that there are things that are bigger than us all. Fights will come and go. The unexpected will challenge us every day. But mostly I learned you cherish time with your friends and family, and you find what you're most passionate about in life, and you go after it. Be it jiu-jitsu, a hobby, or a passion, just do it. And you absolutely won't regret it. Because that's how I've treated the sport of jiu-jitsu, and by extension, that's how I've treated this very show. Now, I'm not the first to lose a parent, nor is my story any more special than yours, but I do this as a tribute to a person who made me a better human being, and whose support gave me the strength to follow the passions of my life. So, I'm sorry to interrupt our normally scheduled nonsense, but I thank you for indulging this quick moment for a proud son to play tribute to his mom. And to Rachel, I just want to say I love you, and I miss you every day.
What a beautiful way to sign out our very special Metamoris 4 edition of Verbal Tap Podcast. I'm Kevin. Thanks for listening.
Good night and good fight.